Greetings and welcome to this edition of Dharma Dirt here in the old dog Zendo at Iron Mountain Hermitage. It is said that Buddhism, and particularly Zen, treats consciousness as an intrinsic fundamental property of reality. In the Shobogenzo, Dogen, who brought Soto Zen Buddhism to Japan, went so far as to say, all is sentient being. Grass, trees, land, sun, moon, and stars are all mind. One of the great conundrums in Western philosophy is how the external world of things is transmitted to the internal world of our human consciousness. This goes all the way back to Plato's famous allegory of the cave. For those of you who didn't take Phil 101 in college, it is as if we were sitting in a dark cave, our backs to the entrance. All we can see is the wall in front of us. Behind us, there's a fire burning, and the real objects move about between us and the fire, so that all we see are the shifting shadows cast upon the wall. We never directly experience the real world. This can lead to a kind of skepticism, the belief that nothing can be known. In our Zen practice, it seems that we sit and study and engage all of the other aspects of practice in order to attain something. We are dissatisfied with our lives and we want to change somehow, but we're not sure how. All we know is that we want to get somewhere, to become something other than what we are. If you ask someone what they seek in a religious practice, they will often reply, peace of mind. Most of us realize, however dimly, that worldly peace that might exist out there will not satisfy. It is our inner demons that cause us such suffering and sorrow. Thus, a major task that faces us is to understand this mind and to see it clearly. But it is not about control in the usual sense. The more you try to control it, the wilder it gets. Zazen practice is not about fighting off thoughts and emotions or chasing after them. It is a matter of quietly observing. Then you begin to see the true nature of the Buddha mind that is no different from our ordinary, everyday mind. A case in the Wumenguan. A young man named Zhao asked his teacher Nanquan about this. Zhao asked Nanquan, "What is the Tao?" Nanquan answered, "Ordinary mind is the Tao." Zhao asked, "Then should I try to direct myself toward it?" Nanquan said, "If you try to direct yourself toward it, you go away from it." Zhao asked, "How can I know the Tao if I don't direct myself?" Nanquan said, "The Tao does not belong to knowing or not knowing. Knowing is delusion, not knowing is blankness. If you truly reach the genuine Tao, you will find it as vast and boundless as infinite space. How can there be knowing or not knowing in the Tao?" At these words, Zhao had a sudden realization. What is the Tao? Tao is usually translated as the way, but it can have any of several meanings. The way things are, ultimate reality, the way we live our lives, or the way to enlightenment, and even the mind of Buddha. The Tao is at once the path and the goal. In fact, Tao has so many meanings that it transcends all meanings. Tao has become a word that goes beyond all words, concepts, and thought. What is the Tao? What is the true reality of my existence, and how do I find out? This question is deep in all of us. It abides in everyone, whether they know it or not, whether they will ever know it in this lifetime. The question takes many forms. Who am I? Why am I here? Why was I born? What is this life really about? Is there an ultimate purpose to things? Or am I just a random occurrence in an unfathomable and uncaring universe? And how do I find out? Answers are many, but there is only this one question. Answers are short-lived. The question lives forever. Many people come to Zen practice after researching and trying various practices, philosophies, methods, and finding them to be unsatisfactory. There comes a point where every book you read, every lecture you go to, every New Age, Native American, Druidic, Wiccan, and yes, Buddhist talk or seminar becomes a dry exercise in intellectual futility. Somewhere in the pit of the stomach there is a hollow place, a place where the question remains, a question that may well be impossible to put into words. In fact, it is more than a question. It is dukkha, suffering itself. What is the Tao? Zhao Zhou doesn't mince words here. Just, what is the way? What is it? And Nanquan answers, ordinary mind is the Tao. Nanquan does not answer the question. He answers Zhao Zhou. He answers the suffering. Ultimately, we must all learn to do this, to answer the situation out of our here and now practice, and not to get caught up in either or, yes or no. Does the dog have Buddha nature or not? Does the enlightened person fall under the law of causality or not? We spend too much of our lives wandering in an impenetrable thicket of yes and no, right and wrong, should I, shouldn't I, is it this or that? This is what happens when we abstract a question, words and concepts, from the reality of here and now. We ask such questions. What is the Tao? Who am I? What is Buddha? Out of our separation from ourselves. I don't think a tree spends a lot of time puzzling over what is a tree. Look at your hands right now. Are they sitting in your lap wondering about whether they are really hands or not? Ordinary mind is the Tao. Really? Ordinary mind? Do you mean this monkey mind with its chattering and grabbing? Crazy mind with its endless desires, anger and temper tantrums, schemes and dreams, delusions and confusions, and on and on? Yeah, that mind. The mind that we don't like very much. The mind that we're always trying to fix, make it better somehow. Let's look at this ordinary mind. With all its stuff, ideas, thoughts, scenarios, prejudices, assumptions, dreams, and schemes. Look at this monkey mind that never stops chattering and grabbing. This is the way? Warts and all? If viewed properly, yes, it is. But, as I said, the operative phrase here is if viewed properly. If viewed as pure experience, pure awareness, ordinary mind is the Tao. Everything we experience, see, hear, feel, taste, touch, or think is this mind. Just because all is this ordinary mind does not mean that phenomena are any less real. What you experience is what you experience. A rock is solid, water is wet, fire is hot, the wind blows. All are expressions or phenomena of mind. When you clean and order your room or your office, or just make your bed in the morning, you are cleaning and ordering your mind. When you eat, you are nourishing the mind with mind. When you harm others, you harm your mind. And when you are destructive, you are destroying your own mind. When you create happiness for others, you create happiness for yourself. When you build a house or a dwelling, you are building a dwelling place for your mind. There is no way you can separate yourself or your mind from what you do with your life. The problem is that Berkeley didn't go far enough. He might have gone on to say that just as objects do not exist without the perceiving mind, the mind has no existence apart from those perceptions. Songsan says, "For things are things because of mind, as mind is mind because of things." All beings do not have consciousness. All beings are consciousness. And while Berkeley's assertions created a few ripples in philosophical thinking of the time, it never went any further than that. It was said that while his conclusion is irrefutable, it fails to convince. Why is that? He presented it as a purely intellectual speculation. There was no practice behind it. The fact that it cannot be refuted tells us that this is not about science. It's not about trying to convince or persuade others with evidence and argument. That it fails to convince tells us that this is about spiritual insight. It is a matter of personal experience only. It's only when such an insight arises as a self-evident truth out of one's own direct experience can it be said to be true. Ordinary mind cannot be approached through intellection. As Wumenguan said, "You are like a mute person who has had a dream. You know it for yourself alone." That knowing can only come out of practice. Ordinary mind is the sum total of everything we see, hear, taste, touch, and think, and nothing else. But only when it is unencumbered, unassembled, uninterpreted, unnamed, and unattached. As soon as we try to go beyond and latch on to constructed things, unhappiness arises, suffering. It's like trying to grab the reflection of the moon in water. It looks real and solid, but even as you reach for it, it breaks up and disappears, and there's nothing but water. If there is nothing outside this mind, Then some other conclusions fall out. First is oneness, unity. If there is nothing outside this ordinary mind, then there can be only one of them. Postulating another mind is immediately putting something outside this one. So this ordinary mind is in fact the one mind, Buddha mind. It can be no other because there is no other. In fact, even the notion of one does not apply, not if it is to distinguish one from two and so forth. It is not a one that stands opposed to two or anything else. Second is emptiness. If everything is mind and mind only, then there is no other substance behind it. Phenomena are all manifestations of this one mind. To say something is real and apart is to again put something outside. It is to elevate thought objects to some kind of higher status outside this mind. Third is transience. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is permanent. Can anyone name anything that exists constant and unchanged in or as this mind for even a short period of time? One of the most difficult things to let go of is this notion of permanence. We equate our vague and shifting thoughts about things with an abstract concept of some thing that has an unchanging existence of its own. In fact, our vague and shifting thoughts about anything are just that, vague and shifting thoughts, and that's all. When I see something changing, that something and that changing is not apart from myself. I am seeing myself changing. But wait, what of the unchanging, unborn, undying it? Paradoxically, the more clearly we see the transience, the impermanent nature of everything, the more we will connect with that unchanging, unborn, undying ground of being, or whatever you want to call it. The more clearly we see and accept the impermanence of everything, the more solidly we become anchored in the unchanging. So Zhao Zhou asked Nanquan, "What is the Tao?" And Nanquan answered, "Ordinary mind, that is the Tao." And that's it. This ordinary mind is the eternal and eternally changing and unchanging Buddha mind. Zhao Zhou asked, "Then how do we get onto it?" Well, in light of what we have been through about this ordinary mind, perhaps we can see that this is a non-question. There isn't any going toward or getting on to anything. We are already there. We are already it, and it is already us. One of our local TV stations used to have a slogan, "It's all right here." It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Zhao Zhou asks his question as one separated from the matter. And he does not yet see that Nanquan's answer is not an answer to the question. It is the Tao itself. But Nanquan will no longer answer directly. Here's how you do it. Here's how you will know about it. Signs of success. If you try to direct yourself towards it, you go away from it. Now, with this response of Nanquan's, we get into translation issues. The usual translations are something like, if you try to direct yourself toward it, you go away from it. Or the more you seek after it, the more it runs away. Here's the problem. Can there be any going away from our own true mind? Can it run away from us? Can Buddha nature run toward or away from itself? Robert Aitken Roshi's translation helps out here. In his presentation in The Gateless Barrier, Nanquan answers, if you try to direct yourself, you betray your own practice. Yes, any thought about toward or away, any thought about a self to be directed anywhere, takes us into duality. It's a misunderstanding of practice, if not a betrayal. If we do not try, how can we know that it is the Tao? Now there is knowing, and then there is knowing. Zhao Zhou has undoubtedly heard all the explanatory stuff, even as I have been blathering along here. How can we know? How can we realize this root, this fundamental ground of being? How can we get past all the words and phrases and concepts and images? How can we know the Tao? How can we not know? If you are sitting on a cushion, that cushion you sit on knows all about being a cushion, far more than you or I could possibly explain or expound. Does anybody seriously believe that you know more about the carpet you walk on than the carpet itself, about its origins, its history, its present makeup? The carpet knows it all by its very being. Every object, action, thought knows perfectly what it is, was, and will be. It is that knowing beyond knowing that we must learn to trust. But still, Zhao Zhou must ask, how can we know that it is the Tao? And Nanquan lets him have it. And again, notice that he pretty much ignores the actual question. The Tao does not belong to knowing or not knowing. Knowing is delusion, not knowing is blankness. If you truly reach the genuine Tao, you will find it as vast and boundless as infinite space. How can there be knowing or not knowing at the Tao? And Zhao Zhou suddenly had realization. If you truly reach the genuine Tao, you will find it as vast and boundless as infinite space. There is yet another language issue here. Space, as we normally use it, implies distance and separation. There is object A, a space, and then object B. That kind of space is an abstraction, just another notion. Space and objects are all phenomena. They are all one and the same. One philosopher said that a cup is what space is doing at that moment. There is no space apart from phenomena and no phenomenon apart from space. To say that the Tao is vast and boundless is therefore to say that each and every phenomenon, object, idea, thing, thought is vast and boundless. You and I are space, vast and boundless. Space is not separation or distance. Space is intimacy. Here's Wumen's commentary. Questioned by Zhao Zhou, Nanquan lost no time in showing a smashed tile and melted ice, where no explanation is possible. Though Zhao Zhou had realization, he could confirm it only after another 30 years of practice. The smashed tile, the melted ice. No explanation possible. Ice, tiles, concepts, notions, all gone. Yes, the Tao, this ordinary mind, is not about knowing and not knowing right and wrong. Then what is left? Nanquan has taken it all away. No explanation can reach it. Though Zhao had realization, he could confirm it only after 30 years of practice. Wumen is giving Zhao credit for a good beginning, but that's all. In the ox herding pictures, Kensho, the initial enlightenment experience, is represented in the third picture. The herdsman is shown spotting the tail of the ox waving from behind some bushes. Well, maybe Zhao saw a bit more than the tail, but even so, it's only the third picture out of 10. There's still a long, long way to go for all of us. The term 30 years or 30 blows in ancient Chinese is not really a specific number. When a Zen master says 30 blows, it doesn't mean that he's going to count out as he whacks you 1, 2, 3, and so on. 30 in ancient China was said in the same way we say a ton. If I have a ton of paperwork on my desk, it doesn't mean 2,000 pounds. So Wumen is saying 30 years, a long, long time. 30 years, forever. Wumen's verse is one of my favorites. Hundreds of flowers in spring, the moon in autumn, a cool breeze in summer, and snow in winter. When the mind is not clouded with unnecessary things, this is your best season. Let this ordinary mind just be. Don't chase. Don't run away. Don't tinker. All we have to do with this ordinary mind is let it quiet down. Let it settle. Let the thoughts fade away as they will in our practice. And the truth appears, there being no delusion. Sherto writes, if you do not see the way, you do not see it, even as you walk on it. One could say that's a very sad commentary on our situation. But at the same time, it's a very hopeful one. Hey, we're already there. All we have to do is see it clearly. How tough can that be? The mind cannot be fixed. This mind doesn't need fixing. This mind is the complete and utterly self-evident truth, and it is wonderful beyond description. If we drop all the knowing, all the not knowing, we see that we ourselves are a wondrous, magical, shifting, phantasmagoric tapestry of the ever-changing, ever-the-same reality that is here and now, the spaceless here, the timeless now. Together with all beings, we realize the way.